My name is Leo, and my wild was the Whispering Woods. It wasn't a jungle in some far-off land. It was my backyard, my training ground, my sanctuary. The trees here were ancient giants, their branches reaching for the sky like gnarled old arms. They held secrets. If you listened closely, really listened, you could hear them rustling stories in the wind. This was my cathedral. Every fallen log was a challenge to cross, every thicket a maze to navigate. It taught me balance, it taught me patience, it taught me how to be still and just exist. This was more than just a place, it was a part of me, etched into my very soul. Flowing through the heart of these woods was the Silver River. We called it that because on a good day, the sun would hit the water just right and it would glitter like a million liquid diamonds. The water ran cold and clear, a lifeline for everything here. I knew its currents, its eddies, its hidden depths. I'd spend hours on its banks, watching the kingfishers dive like little blue rockets, their aim always true. The river was a symbol of pure, raw life. It was a force of nature, powerful and untamed. It was the pulse of the forest, and I could feel it beating every time I was near. My connection to this place was primal. It was where I learned the fundamentals of survival, not just in the wild, but in life. The forest taught me to look up, to read the clouds, to understand the signs. The river taught me to respect power, to understand flow, and to know that even the smallest stream can carve its way through solid rock over time. The change didn't happen overnight. It was a slow creep, a quiet poison seeping into the edges of my world. At first, I barely noticed it. A strange slickness on the water's surface after a heavy rain. A few less fish darting in the shallows. Small things, easy to dismiss. But the wild teaches you to pay attention, to trust your instincts. And my instincts were screaming that something was wrong. The air started to smell different too. Not the usual scent of damp earth and pine, but a faint chemical tang that burned the back of your throat on a hot day. The signs were there if you knew how to look. Then came the silence. The birdsong began to fade. The Silver River, my beautiful river, began to look sick. A murky, brownish film often clouded its surface, and a sad line of plastic bottles and greasy trash collected in the eddies where I used to watch fish spawn. The final straw was the old willow tree. It stood on the riverbank, a magnificent giant that had been there for generations. It was my landmark, my shelter, my friend. One afternoon, I arrived to find its leaves yellowed and curled, its branches brittle and lifeless. It was dying from the roots up. The river that had fed it for 100 years was now delivering poison. This wasn't a natural cycle. This was an injury. This was an attack. My sanctuary was under siege. That evening, I sat on the dying willow's roots and watched the sunset. The sky was a strange, hazy orange. I felt a cold knot of fear and anger tighten in my stomach. This was my home, my wild. The sadness was overwhelming, a heavy weight on my chest, but underneath the sadness, a different feeling began to burn. It was a fierce, protective fire. You don't just stand by and watch something you love die. For days, that feeling of helplessness gnawed at me. It's a dangerous state of mind, one that can paralyze you in the wild and in life. You see the mountain and it looks too big to climb. You see the river and it looks too wide to cross. My mountain was the pollution, the indifference, the sheer scale of the problem. What could one person possibly do? It felt impossible. I'd visit the woods and the silence and the sickness of the place would just feed my despair. It was a downward spiral and I was caught in it. This is where your training, your spirit has to kick in. But then I remembered the first rule of survival. Do something, anything. Don't just sit there waiting for the situation to get worse. Assess, plan, act. Even the smallest action can change your mindset. It can break the paralysis and give you momentum. The next Saturday, we began our mission. Our equipment was basic. A few trash bags, some thick gloves from my dad's garage, and a whole lot of determination. Here we were, 3 kids against a river of filth. The sheer amount of garbage was staggering. We waded into the shallows, pulling out plastic bottles, soggy cardboard, rusted cans, tangled fishing line. Every piece we pulled out seemed to be replaced by 2 more floating downstream. It was a relentless tide of human carelessness. For a moment, my heart sank. It felt like trying to bail out the ocean with a teaspoon. The physical work was tough. The mud tried to steal our boots, our hands raw despite the gloves. But then, we cleared a small cove, choked with debris. It took us nearly 2 hours. When we were done, we stood back, panting and covered in mud. For the first time, we could see the gravel on the riverbed. The water, freed from the filth, swished with new energy. It was a tiny victory, a patch of clean no bigger than a car. We had done that. It was proof that our actions, however small, could make a visible difference. That small victory was the fuel we needed. We left with a renewed sense of purpose. The fight was far from over, but we knew we could wage it. One small team can make a dent, but a larger tribe can make a wave. We knew we needed more hands. Sarah designed a simple, powerful poster. Below the pictures, in big, bold letters, it just said, "This is our river. Which one do we want?" We put the posters up all over school. Then we started talking. Not preaching, just talking. We shared our story. We showed them the dying willow, the feeling of pulling that first piece of trash from the water. We didn't talk about saving the planet. We talked about saving our swimming spot, our fishing hole, our place to hang out. We made it personal. We invited everyone to join us the next Saturday. No experience necessary. We showed them the small cove we had cleaned, our tiny island of hope. Seeing it for themselves, that's what made the difference. The next Saturday, we weren't a team of 3 anymore. 15 other kids showed up at the riverbank ready to work. Our small tribe had grown. It was an incredible feeling seeing them all there, ready to join the fight. You have to give them a mission they can believe in. With a bigger team, we could do more. We organized weekly cleanup days. We pulled tires, shopping carts, endless plastic out of the river. But our mission soon faced a new kind of obstacle: the adults. Not all of them, but enough to make things difficult.
You're wasting your time.
Then came the resistance. We started a petition asking the local council to investigate the strange-smelling discharge pipe upstream. We collected hundreds of signatures, but when we presented it, we were met with bureaucracy and skepticism. We were told it was just storm runoff, that there were no regulations being broken. They patted us on the head, thanked us for our civic engagement, and essentially showed us the door. It was infuriating. The emotional toll was heavy. Some volunteers got discouraged and stopped coming. The initial excitement wore off, replaced by the grim reality of a long, slow fight. There were days I wanted to quit. During those dark days, our core team, me, Sarah, Ben, kept going. We learned to celebrate small wins. We had to be our own source of hope. Giving up was not an option. We knew cleaning wasn't enough. We had to heal the wound, not just put a bandage on it. We had to bring life back. Sarah did the research. She learned about native plants that filter water and stabilize riverbanks. Our new mission was planting. Willows, alders, river birches. These weren't just trees, they were soldiers. Each one we planted felt like a promise, watering them with buckets of cleaner river water. We taught the new volunteers how to do it. It was hard work, but it was creative. It was an act of faith. Alongside the planting, we started a new campaign. We called it River Stories, filming otters playing in a cleared section, interviewing elders who remembered swimming here. A thicket of new reeds, a flash of brilliant blue. It was a kingfisher. It hovered, then dove, emerging with a small silver fish. We all froze in silent awe, the first I'd seen in years. Nature telling us, keep going. What you are doing is working. That single kingfisher was the turning point. Hope is contagious. Our River Stories campaign started to gain traction. A local newspaper wrote an article about us, calling us the River Guardians. People started to see us differently. More volunteers joined. Local businesses donated better equipment. Waders, stronger nets, wheelbarrows. The town council agreed to conduct new tests on the discharge pipe upstream. The tide was finally turning. The changes became more and more visible. Dragonflies zipped over the surface, frogs hopped, and one magical evening a family of deer drank at the water's edge. The chemical smell was gone, replaced by the clean, earthy fragrance of water, stone, and damp soil. The council's new tests found an illegal bypass pipe from a small factory upstream. They were fined and forced to repair it. The source of the worst pollution had been cut off. It was a huge win, one we had fought for with mud, sweat, and stubbornness. We celebrated with a quiet sense of awe. The river was breathing again. Today is August 23rd, 2025. The Whispering Woods and the Silver River are not perfect, but they are alive. Our group is still active. We still hold cleanup days, but now we pull out much less trash. Our job has shifted to maintenance and stewardship. This is my challenge to you. Pick up one piece of trash, plant one seed, tell one person why it matters, be a survivor, be a guardian. They need you.